All right, Pete Hegseth, rare bipartisan, bicameral concern about the strike, the first strike of the many strikes that have taken place in the Caribbean, or maybe it's Caribbean, I never know. Here's the Wall Street Journal headline 107. Congress opens inquiries after report that U.S. targeted boat strike survivors. This is all based on this Washington Post story, which is a little ambiguous about what happened. The president last night on Air Force One was asked about Pete Hegseth and Hegseth's defense of the operation without specifics. The president was asked what he knew about a so-called double tap, a second strike that the Washington Post alleges was intended to kill two shipwrecked people who could not defend themselves, which, if true, would be in violation of international law and American law. Here is the president on Air Force One last night, number 108, please.
We talked a little bit about the strikes and the controversy around Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth.
I don't know anything about it. He said he did not say that, and I believe him.
So you don't know if there was
You talking about the two men?
the second strike to kill the two men?
No, he said he didn't do it. He said he never said it.
Would you be okay with that if he did?
He said he didn't do it, so I don't have to make that decision.
You're still on the Venezuela boat strike. If there were a second strike that killed wounded people, even in the first strike, were you thinking that would be legal?
Number one, I don't know that happened. And Pete said he did not want them. He didn't even know what people were talking about. So we'll look into it. But no, I wouldn't have wanted that. Not a second strike. The first strike was very lethal. It was fine. And if there were two people around, but Pete said that didn't happen.
Does that make you?
I have great confidence.
He's saying there's no second strike.
I don't know. I'm going to find out about it. But Pete said he did not order the death of those two men.
So Congress is going to look into it, and the president's going to look into it. Hogan, there's ambiguity, and some people are saying, well, maybe Hegseth didn't order that second strike, but a second strike was consistent with his orders that everyone be killed. What are the questions you want to know the answers to? Tom Cotton said he wants answers as well. So what are the questions you'd like answered now on this, if any?
I think the investigation that Congress does, I think the investigation inside the administration will be, what did Pete Hegseth do? What did he say? What did he want accomplished? And right now, Pete Hegseth is being very clear that none of this happened, that this is all a machination, a lie from the mainstream media. And look, the amount of times this particular publication has lied about the Donald Trump administration and used shadowy sources as opposed to people on the record is not countable. It's too many times to even think about.
Then why is Chairman Wicker launching an investigation on something if it's just fake news?
Hold on one second. Are you trying to tell me that in this town, someone doing something for their own political gain or benefit?
Why is it in Chairman Wicker's?
I'm not saying it's not genuine. What I'm saying is, of course he's going to go look into it, and he should. That's fine.
Do you have any unanswered questions about it?
Look, I have a lot of unanswered questions about a lot of things across the federal government. I will say, though, interestingly enough, from the broader landscape, a political fight here is about to ensue because for whatever reason, it just seems like this administration is focused on preventing illegal drugs from coming into this country and killing American citizens. The previous administration left the border open. This one closed it down. So when they decide to designate drug lords as terrorists, then obviously they are going to try and attack them at every turn. And I wish everyone was on the same page of, we don't want more drugs pouring into the country. It just seems like one side of this isn't worried about that. They're worried about preventing drugs from coming to the shore.
Okay.
In a manner they don't deem
let me ask you one more question, and then ask Ashley to say what her unanswered questions are. If the Washington Post reporting is accurate, and I know you don't like the Washington Post, but you can't rule it out, I don't believe. If the Washington Post reporting is accurate, would it be wrong? Would you consider it a violation of international law or American law to do that?
Well, if the Washington Post reporting was accurate, then obviously Donald Trump colluded with Vladimir Putin to win the election. I mean, they've done this a bunch of times. So whatever. They're going to write the story.
So you're saying you know it's wrong, so you won't address it. You're like the president. You want to entertain a hypothetical.
No, I'm not going to entertain hypotheticals. I will say, though, they can write the story and they can ask the questions. But these shadowy sources from inside the government that tend to try and erode the credibility of those at the top, I think that's deplorable.
Okay. Ashley, what are your unanswered questions, if any, about what happened in this operation?
I mean, let's be clear. I mean, the Washington Post reporting is really only compounding the issue. I mean, the issue was, the question whether or not it's legal what the administration's doing in terms of bombing these boats, whether it's now the question amounts to whether or not it's a war crime or whether or not it's murder. I mean, of course, both chambers are now investigating this issue because of that reason. Even if you take the Washington Post reporting out of it, there's still these questions that need to be answered. I think President Trump and Hegseth owe the American people an explanation. Is it regime change? Because that's what Senator Cotton said on television, that Maduro needed to go, or is it about the drugs? I'm not really sure which it is, but they ultimately owe the American people and now the international community an explanation as to what the objective actually is here. I mean, because there's some conflicting accounts here. Why is President Trump pardoning the former president of Honduras, which flooded the United States with cocaine? I mean, if this issue was about drugs, then let's stick to that. Let's make it about the drugs. But it seems to me there's a lot of conflicting interest here in the president not knowing even what Hegseth did or whether or not the order was right is a failure of leadership. And so that's what this thing amounts to. I mean, is Hegseth sort of getting off by bombing people and killing people, or does the president sort of asleep in the Oval Office and has no idea what's going on? I mean, all of this is problematic. And I will say the president's comments on Air Force One is really only making the problem worse. I'm surprised he even went there to say he had no idea and, he's trusting Hegseth. I mean, that's really gonna only exacerbate his problem and further amplify these investigations. So, I think the Republicans and Democrats on the House and the Senate side are not going to let up on this, and I think it's just going to be an even greater problem for the administration.
Every president, though, would say they support their secretary in that
No,
particular.
but to say you don't know, I mean,
Of
about
course.
people dying, I mean, about committing war crimes is a failure of leadership. Why not say nothing? Why not say I'm looking into this rather than he said no or it didn't happen? I mean,
He said he's going to trust the person he put in charge of the department. That's not
but
new in
ultimately
Washington, D.C.
the buck stops with the president. Hogan,
Of course it does. Of course it does. But there's my bigger point, which is yet again, somehow, some way, Donald Trump has gotten the Democrat Party to be on the side of a terrorist and a drug lord. It blows my mind.
Well,
But
the president through his pardon has put himself on the side of a drug lord.
Exactly.
No.
Right. Thanks,
I mean-
Mark.
Donald Trump is
we've got
stopping
to
drugs from pouring into this country. He is
Yeah.
killing those who do it.
Do you
And the
understand why?
Democrats are like, nah, I think we're going to protect the terrorists
Do
instead.
you understand? Do you understand?
It's fascinating.
Do you understand the pardon he did, Togan? Can you explain
No.
that? No.
I didn't. I've not even seen the reporting.
Yeah.
I know you say he's a cocaine lord or whatever, but
Yeah.
I've not seen the.
Well, he was convicted in
details
American.
around.
He was convicted in American court. We don't have time for that, unfortunately. Maduro, the president, confirmed his conversation, but didn't talk about the details that had been previously reported by the New York Times. Wall Street Journal editorial board today, 113, basically says the president now has elevated Maduro so high. Headline: the high stakes in Venezuela. Trump chose the showdown with Maduro, and only one will win. And basically says the president can't back down. I'll just say what I think. I think they're overstating the case. He can back down. He can try to get him out or not. But I've said I think he'll be gone by Christmas. Ashley, do you think Maduro will be gone by Christmas?
I do. I think he will. But again, I think I just want to reiterate the point. I think the president owes us an explanation as to what's going on here. What's really afoot? I mean, there's questions about whether or not we're going to commit troops, whether or not we've committed war crimes. I do believe that at the very least, Hegseth needs to go to Congress and explain himself.
Yeah. Hogan, Maduro will be gone or no?
I think so. Look, I lived through this in the first term. I remember the Boltons of the world inside the administration and what their attempts were in that country. So I think this is kind of the culmination of several decades of problems with Venezuela. And I think that this could be the moment that tips the scale.
They say that something that's easy is like a walk in the park. Well, easier than a walk in the park, hit the subscribe button, be part of the two-way community, never miss an episode, be part of our conversations. Thank you for your service to America. And don't forget, you can now listen to the morning meeting and Two-Way Tonight on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts.